tickets till 2 o'clock. So we have the first session today on the GST, Goods and Service Tax, which is an important area in the international trade. One nation, one tax, and some of the taxes were subsumed in the GST. So Mr. S.N. Panigrahi, he is a GST consultant, practitioner, and corporate trainer. Mostly Hyderabadis, they know him, and in fact today he is a globally known player in the GST area, in the training area. I'll briefly introduce Mr. Panigrahi. He is a versatile practitioner, an international consultant, corporate trainer, mentor, and author. He has a diverse experience and expertise. Domain specialization includes PMP and project management, lean project management, lean Six Sigma, contract and risk management, procurement, shipping and logistics, supply chain management, foreign trade, exports and imports, indirect taxes, GST. He is also on the committees of FTCC on the indirect taxes and GST. He trained in Center for Organization Development on strategy and leadership for 3.5 years. He certified PMP and PMI USA, PMI India champion in 2016. Certified Lean Six Sigma Black Belt from Benchmark, Exemplar Global. Certified Lean Six Sigma Black Belt from KPMG Certified GST Practitioner MSME Government of India. Certified Z Consultant QCI and MSME Government of India. He has authored over 500 articles published in various journals and periodicals. Done more than 150 workshops globally, including PMP, FIDICI, and Lean Six Sigma. He is also active on various social medias and contributes articles of interest to the industry, trade, and commerce on the various social media sites. And he has contributed YouTubes also on the international trade. Thank you for being with us, sir, and I request you to give the presentation.
Thank you. Namaskar. Namaskar to all of you. You able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Everybody able to screen. Then my voice also clear. Then let us start, because sometime we are lost because of waiting for others. So without waste of further, let us start the subject. Of course, a brief introduction is given about me. You must have knowing. And today's agenda is on this topic is this an overall overview and implication of the GST and foreign trade. The agenda is first I will give small introduction about the GST, then treatment of exports and imports under GST will cover, and how to export under GST. There are two options are there, those also we will discuss. Then how to get the GST refunds, then GST under the deemed export provisions also will discuss. Then merchant exports, because most of you may be initially starting as a merchant exporter instead of a manufacturer exporter, so that we will cover this merchant export provisions also briefly. Then Kulkarni ji also asked me to cover small things, small aspects about the duty drawback, because that is one type of export promotion incentive like. So
Yes.
that also we'll discuss. So this is the agenda. With this, let us start the session. Of course, whenever we'll talk about import and exports, especially in export when you're starting, then I used to give this chart, because this is a one shot, all details available in one place. So it is very beautiful. So first to start an export, of course, you started already, somebody must have covered the subject about the setting up of the organization. Then obtaining this PAN number or bank account number, then IEC, RCMC, then GST registration. These are essential part of setting up your organization. Then what to export, here to think it of what product or services you want to cover. Then where to export, means that marketplace. Then how to get the export orders, so that you correspond and get negotiations, then get the orders. Then execution of the export orders, then payment realization. So here for the setting up of organization, there is, because I am concerned about only about GST, overall brief I have told you, but I want to focus on GST. So when you are starting off an organization, if you are serious about import and export, GST registration also a mandatory requirement. So that is why this is the GST registration is mandatory requirement. Then while you are executing, there are certain provisions are there under GST. For example, that invoice also under the GST you have to prepare the invoice, and various other incentives and other things, if you want to take also avail that incentives, that GST provisions are applicable. So those also have to understand. So that is why I have mentioned this brief about this. Then let us move to then of course this already discussed. This is what the GST registration is a mandatory requirement. GST you must have knowing, it is started in 1st July 2017, subsuming earlier taxes, like 17 earlier different taxes are there, and all those things have been subsumed, and also 23 cesses also subsumed into single nationwide a uniform taxation system. That is why we call umbrella taxation system. So the basic aspect of the GST briefly I'll tell you. Even for the taxation, earlier in this region, before the GST, there are different taxes are there, and different basis for the taxation or event for taxation. But coming through GST, supply is made as a event for taxation. Means there are defined of the supply. If there is supply, then only it is defined treated as a event for taxation. GST will be applicable, otherwise no. So first we have to understand about the supply. Then this is the destination principle. That means the receiving state will get the revenue, not the originating state. So that is the basis of the consumption based, means the receiving state, or where it has been destined, that state will get the revenue for the GST. Then it is a value added principle, because tax will be collected on value addition. Value addition means, suppose you have an input tax which you have taken for your input material, raw material, packing material, consumables, or whatever inputs you wanted. On that, suppose you have suffered certain taxes, the GST, that GST will be taken as a input tax credit. And when you are selling the products to the outside your market, then what are the GST liability is there, for that this input tax credit can be offset on the liability for the outward supply of the goods or services. So this is why it is a value added principle, because only on the value addition you are paying the tax, not on the entire value you are paying, but only on the value addition, because input tax credit is allowed to take. Then it is multi-point taxation system, means at each stage of supply you have to pay the tax. Suppose you purchased from some X supplier, and he charges the GST. Then you take the GST credit, that is ITC, called input tax credit, and when you are selling again and again, the GST is applicable. In such case, you can offset the input tax credit, whatever you have taken at the input stage can be offset towards output, your supply, where the GST is liable for it. Okay. So is multi-point means every point of the supply tax has to be paid. Then seamless credit, entered throughout the value chain, you are allowed to take the credit. So this is basic understanding about the GST. In the GST, of course, to make you very simple, suppose you are a taxable person, means you are registered with the GST, then you become a taxable person. And every taxable person who has been purchasing some inputs, for example, packing material, raw material, consumables or components, whatever you purchase, on that if GST has been suffered, then to that extent of the GST, whatever you have paid, you are allowed to take the ITC, means input tax credit, you are allowed. When you are selling these goods outward supply, means your finished goods or whatever the materials you are selling, then again GST is applicable, means outward supply GST is applicable, and this input tax credit, whatever you have taken, that will be adjusted towards the payment of GST on the outward supply. So this is basic principle. Now, of course, GST has these are the four basic aspects of the GST. One is of the event for the taxation, as we have discussed. It is supply is a event for the taxation under GST. Then the time of supply also very important, because when that liability arises, that has to be understood. That is one of the important aspect. Then the nature of exports, means supply, has to be understood by which place you are selling. So about the location of the supplier and the recipient of the supplier are in two different states, then it's called interstate transaction. There IGST is applicable. Suppose the location of the supplier and the recipient of the supplier both are in the same state, then it's called intrastate transaction. In such case, there are two taxes are applicable, CGST and SGST. Means CGST means central GST, SGST means state GST. Two taxes are applicable. Okay. So this is brief about this place of supply. Based on that only, this tax, nature of the tax will be decided based on the place of supply. Then the on what value you have to pay the tax, that is called transaction value. The transaction value only you have to pay the tax, unless otherwise there is certain other conditions are there, related person or other thing. If it is not a related person, then of course it has to be made on the transaction value, you have to pay the tax. So this is basic understanding about the taxation system. Now without, because that part basic to make you understand, I told you. Now let us start with the treatment of export and import under GST. Okay. Of course, if you want anybody to discuss, of course you can discuss immediately. Any doubts are there, you can raise so that we clarify. So of course I don't know whether Kulkarni ji is allowed to all others to raise any means questions in between.
Yeah, they can raise it.
Okay.
They can raise
Okay,
it.
good.
Chat box also they can pose it.
Yeah. So my approach is, I don't want everybody to put the questions at the end of the session only, because most of the time the end of the session the time is short and many people are maybe at the time they're discussing they have some doubts, but at the end of it they may forget it.
Correct.
So therefore my approach is, as and when you have a doubt you can raise the questions so that we can clarify. Okay. But only to that subject we are talking about, not to something unrelated. Don't raise any questions. That can be, if you want, we can discuss at the last. But to that extent of what we are talking on the topic, that questions you can raise so that we can clarify. So with the treatment of exports and imports under GST, first we discuss what is an export, the definition under the GST. Then the nature of supply also will discuss under GST. Then we discuss about zero rated supply and how to export. There are two options, as I told you, those two options will discuss. And of course refunds will discuss in this topic. Then further other things will discuss further. The definition of exports, there are two sections are there. One is for the export of goods, the other for export of services. Right. First we will discuss about export of goods. Under the section 2.5 of the IGST Act 2017, goods, the export of goods means taking goods out of India to a place outside India. So this is the very simplistic definition under the GST. Okay. Then export of services, again section 2.6 of IGST Act 2017. There are 5 conditions are there. All these 5 conditions has to fulfill. One is the service provider is situated in India. The recipient of the services is situated outside India. The place of supply of the services is also outside India. And the payment, of course, it has to be received in convertible foreign exchange, foreign currency. Of course, in certain cases, as per the RBI regulations, Indian currency also accepted. Okay. And the another important point, the 5th point is, the supplier and recipient are not merely the establishment of the distinct person. Distinct person means, for example, you are in India and your representative is there, or your some employee is there for outside India, for example, he is receiving the services, then such services will not be treated as a export of service. Okay, so this is the broad definition. With this, let us start one question now. Now, for example, you are in India, Indian establishment, you are in India, you have an Indian business, and there is a US customer. You received an order from US customer, and if you fulfill this order, and you will receive payment in foreign exchange. In this situation, what you have done is you have sourced from the China and asked the Chinese supplier to make the goods directly shipped to the US customer, and the order is fulfilled. Therefore, you receive the US currency. In US currency, payment is received. This is what payment is received in US currency. Now, let us see this transaction between Indian business and the US customer, whether it is treated as an export or not. Because you got an export order, you have fulfilled through sourcing the goods from the China and asking directly to ship to the US, so that order is fulfilled. As a result, you got the payment also received in US dollars, for example. Now let us discuss whether this is a export or not. The transaction between the Indian business and the US this one is treated as a export or not. Yes sir, let us interact, or in chat box also you can write yes or no, whether this transaction is.
Sir, if the airway bill is in the Indian organization's name, then it can be, I believe it can be treated as an export.
Why it is airway bill only? Why not it is a BL? Bill of lading. Bill of lading. For example, she consignment is exported.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Then
it can be treated as an export, sir. If
be treated.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Let us understand. Nothing wrong. Actually, we are learners. Let us understand. Yes, okay. And what are there in chat box? And somebody is telling no. And only one has told no. I believe this is to be an export. Okay. Okay, you have believed it. Okay. Good. Okay, let us understand, nothing wrong. Now in the definition, again I am going back. I am going back to the definition of this transaction. I mean the definition. Definition what is talking, that is why the definitions are very important to understand. Here the export of goods, we are talking about goods exports only. So goods export, then the definition of the export is talking about taking the goods out of India to a place outside India. In this example, where is the goods are moving from? It is moving from the goods physically from the China to US directly. That is why direct shipment is made. But goods are not moving outside India to a place outside India. Because the goods are physically not moving from India, therefore it is not an export. Clear, sir?
Yes, sir.
Now this is how, that is why the definition you have to understand. Even though you receive the amount consideration in foreign currency, but it will not be treated in export, so that your export benefit you will not enjoy. You can't get the any export benefits. Okay. Next we are going to export. The nature of supply we discuss. Whenever you are making export, I told you the nature of supply means place of supply definition. When I telling to you, when the goods are making from the location is, for example, in Hyderabad, and you are supplying the goods to Warangal, for example, both are within the same state, then it will be intra-state transaction. In the intra-state transaction, CGST and SGST is applicable, as I already explained to you. Suppose you are a supplier in Hyderabad, you are supplying to a person in Vijayawada. These are the two different states. Then it is treated as interstate transaction. In the interstate transaction, IGST is applicable. In case of export, for example, it is not like within India, but outside India you are sending. You are from Hyderabad, for example, exporter. You are sending to Dubai, for example, in UAE, the outside India. So this type of transaction which are going outside India, that is also treated as interstate transaction. Interstate transaction. Therefore, IGST is applicable. Okay. Similarly, when you are supplying the goods from any of the DTA unit to SCZ unit, then also it is treated as an interstate transaction. Okay, now understood. So whenever you are making export, then in case of the GST you want to pay on the invoice, then it has to be paid IGST, not the CGST and SGST, because it is treated as a interstate transaction. Okay. Therefore, IGST is applicable in case of export. Similarly, supplies to SCZ units. So this is basic understanding, because whenever you are making the invoice and shipping bill, that has to be understood. So these are the provisions under section 7.5 of the IGST Act in case of goods, export of goods or services, direct exports. And for imports, it is under section 7.2. These also of the IGST Act, and this is also treated as interstate transaction, either export or import. Similarly, for services also, import of services also treated as a interstate transaction. So IGST is applicable. Okay, interstate transaction, IGST is applicable. Okay. Now let us understand whether export is required to register under GST. Yes or no? Suppose GST provisions, they talks, suppose in general there are 20 lakhs threshold limit is there. If it is below 20 lakhs threshold limit, then you need not register. In domestic sales and I think I am talking about in general. So 20 lakhs is threshold limit, and below 20 lakhs your turnover is there per annum, then you need not register. But in case of export, whether we have to register or not, suppose your turnover is say 15 lakhs, which is below threshold limit, which is 20 lakhs. Threshold limit is 20 lakhs and your turnover is 15 lakhs. You are making exports. So you need to register under GST or not? Yes, sir. First, yes or no only. There are two question answers only. Answers are binary. Yes or no. There is no other option. Need to register, yes. Okay. Any other? Only one has told. Others, I believe it's not required, because you are making less than the threshold limit is your turnover. Say turnover is 15 lakhs, but threshold limit for registration is 20 lakhs. So you need to register or not is the question. Okay, different few people have answered, but most of them are silent. I don't know what is the silence meaning, because silence can be either way, yes or no. But let us understand, previously I explained, because the transaction for export, for example, you are in Hyderabad, you are exporting to Dubai, that is outside India, then this transaction is treated as interstate transaction. When it is an interstate transaction, as per the section 24 of the CGST Act, compulsory registration is necessary. So you have to register compulsorily. That is a mandatory requirement as per the section 24 of the CGST Act. Clear? So if you want to become an exporter, apart from getting the PAN number, then IEC code, then GST also has to be registered. Then only you can export. Okay, clear? Then what is zero rated supply? Let us understand. Zero rated supply is different from the exempted supply. Zero rated supply specifically applicable for export or supplies to SEZ units. So zero rated supply is you are making a supply of goods or services or both. You are making the export of goods or services, then also it is treated as a zero rated supply. Also, when you are supplying to SEZ unit or SEZ developer for their authorized operations only, then also it is treated as a zero rated supply. Earlier there is a confusion because whenever you are supplying to SEZ, all items are treated as zero rated or only few items are treated as zero rated is a certain confusion, certain advanced rulings also there. And that to remove that confusion, in the budget 2021, only on the 1st of this February, Nirmala Sitaram ji has presented. In the budget, they made provision in the law itself very clearly, because earlier there is a interpretations are there. Different people have different interpretations about the supply to SEZ units. Now it is made very clear. They have added this clause, further added in this clause second, this 16.1b. There is some more additions they made. This highlighted, I highlighted. This if the same means that material or supplies whatever you are making, either goods or supply services, if these are being provided in authorized operations only, these are for authorized operations only. What is authorized operations means again is defined in the section 2.1 of the SZ Act. In this they explain that authorized operation means what has been specified in the letter of approval issued by the Development Commissioner of the SEZ unit concerned. Those are being treated as a authorized operations. Other things are not authorized operations. Therefore, now it is very clear, whenever you are making supplies to SEZ, this is treated as zero rated supply only when this is for authorized operations. Okay, authorized operation means that what are the specific provisions that are made in the approval, only to that extent those items or services are treated as authorized operations. Only for that reasons this is treated as zero rated. Now understood about zero rated means supplies outside the India, the goods or services are supplies to SEZ for only authorized operations. Okay. The essence of the zero rated is whenever you are making zero rated supply, you are entitled to take the this credit, ITC credit is allowed to take. So that is the essence of it. If it is exempted items, for example, you are making supplies within India, then input tax credits are not allowed to take. But when it is zero rated supply, means it is an export or supplies to SEZ units for their authorized operations, then these are treated as zero rated supply. Whenever zero rated supply is there, ITC means input tax credit is allowed to take. As I told you, whenever you are purchasing any of the items, for example, or services like raw material, packing material, consumables or services, other things you are procuring, on that any tax is applicable, that tax is allowed to take ITC means input tax credit. Okay, that is the essence of it. Zero rated suppliers are allowed to take ITC. Now exports, we have told you there are two options are there. The two options we are now going to discuss. First option is means is only for zero rated supply. Zero rated supply, there are two options to make the supplies, means export or supplies to SEZ units for their authorized operations. First is without payment of tax under LUT, letter of undertaking. LUT, what is that? I will tell you in the subsequent slides. LUT means letter of undertaking. Okay, and through this without payment of tax you can export it and get the refund of the ITC, whatever you have the ITC there, that can be refunded. Then the second option is with payment of IGST, means on the finished goods which you are making export, for example, on that you can pay the IGST, then get the total IGST whatever you have paid, that can be got refunded. So there are two options are there. These two options again we will further discuss now, because refund is very important aspect about the export Otherwise, your supplies will not be competitive in the international market, because taxes should not be exported. That is basic fundamental concept across the world. So therefore, all the countries, they generally relieve the exports, that exemptions are provided for the taxes whenever we are exporting. Okay. So here also, what are the taxes you have suffered for the export, to that extent you can get the refund of the taxes. So that is what the provision, the two provisions are provided. Either without payment of tax you can make the supply, means exports, or with payment of tax you can make exports. Then who is eligible to take the LUT? Now we are talking letter of undertaking. Letter of undertaking, you can go to the GST portal. There it is the online, you can make the LUT application, you can get it. For that, all the in fact all the registered person means who are been registered under the GST, they can make the application for the LUT. Under the LUT, without payment of tax, you can make exports or supplies to SEZ units. Okay. And LUT, in fact, is valid for 1 year, that one financial year. One financial year means from the 1st of April of the year to next year 31st March. So this is financial year. This LUT, whatever you have taken, is applicable only for one financial year. Once the financial year complete, then you have to again get the new LUT. Okay. So LUT validity you have to remember. Only under the valid LUT only you can export without payment of taxes. Okay. Then there is a condition. Suppose you are being prosecuted for an amount, tax amount of more than 2.5 crores, means 250 lakhs. In such case, you are not entitled to get the LUT. All others can get the LUT. There is no restriction. Anybody can apply for the LUT. But exception only this: those who are being prosecuted for the tax evasion of more than 250 lakhs or 2.5 crores, those are not being allowed to take the LUT. So this is the provision about the taking the LUT. Then the question comes: suppose you want to the EOU, you want to supply to EOU, then whether you can get the LUT. Very clearly it is talks of LUT is, this provision is available only for zero rated supplies, and supply to EOU is not treated as a zero rated supply. Therefore, whenever you are making the supplies to EOU, this provision of LUT is not available. Okay. Then one more question we can ask: whether supplies, suppose you are making the supplies under LUT without payment of IGST, and suppose you have made an LUT, you make the invoice and other thing, for example, but for whatever the reasons you are not able to export it, means exports are not being made, or consideration, means that export, when you make that, consideration has to be received generally in foreign exchange, foreign currency you have to receive, or as per RBI provisions you can receive even under Indian rupees also, INR. But suppose you are not made an export or you are not received the payment, in such case what happens? Because you have taken LUT understanding is, there you are making undertaking to the government of India that in case you are not made an export, then within the that 15 days after the expiry of the 3 months period for the goods, for example, you are making an export, within 3 months you are not exported, in such case this whatever you have made that export, to that liability of the taxes is there, because only for export that without payment you can make, but otherwise if not an exported, then this is liable under the GST. So GST has to be paid, that IGST has to be paid along with interest also. So that is the provision, first one. For the goods within 3 months, that is the goods. Another 15 days they are given a cushion, like means after the expiry of 3 months, within 15 days you have to make the payment of the IGST along with interest, because you are not exported the goods. The second, in case of services, for example, in such case 1 year provision is there. Within 1 year that services has to be exported, and that 15 days cushion again here also applicable, that within 15 days if you not got the realization and all, then that means payment is not received. In such case you can make the payment of the IGST along with interest. So this is what happened, because that provisions are given subject to certain conditions that you have to fulfill. That condition is you have to export and the payment must be realized. So these are the conditions. If you not, then these penalty actions you have to face it. Okay. Then as we told you, for the exporter there are two options are there. One is without payment of tax under LUT. The second option is with payment of tax, means IGST, and getting the IGST refund. Okay. And this exporter get the inputs on which he pays the GST. Those GST as per the section 16 I told you of IGST Act, you can take the ITC. ITC is allowed. For example, you are opting for the first option without payment of tax, then whatever the ITC you have taken, you are not able to adjust with the export, because outward supply is again you are opting for the without payment of tax. Therefore, there may be accumulation of the ITC. In such case, the accumulated ITC can be got refunded. Okay, this is ITC can be refunded in the first case. Okay, for that you have to make a separate application under this RFT 01A is an application. The separate application, online application again. The separate online application you have to make for the claiming the ITC refund. Means what are the taxes remained unutilized, that input taxes, that unutilized or accumulated ITC can be got refund. For that you have to make a separate application RFT 01A. Okay, online. Suppose the second option you are opting, in this case you are making the payment of IGST, so the ITC can be utilized towards the payment of IGST. That is the basic concept I told you for GST concept. Whenever you are getting the inputs on that, what are the taxes paid, that can be taken as ITC, can be utilized this ITC for the towards the payment of the outward supply. So here the outward supply is in export. So what are the ITC you are taken, that is can be utilized towards outward supply of the IGST for the export, and whatever the IGST you have paid, that refund you can claim. This is the refund, total IGST whatever you have paid, that refund you will get. In case of the goods supply, goods export means export of goods, then no separate application is required, because you see in the first option you have to make the separate application, but in the second case, the second option, you need not make any application in case of export of goods. The shipping bill what have been filed with the customs will be treated as an application, and automatically your refund will be deposited into your bank account which has been registered with the customs. That is called AD registration, authorized dealer registration we call. Maybe in the first day also this sessions you must have heard what are the essential requirement when you are starting a business, then taking GST, then IEC, all those things we have discussed. Then AD registration also essential part of the business starting. Before export you have to register with customs, your authorized dealer registration has to be done, that AD registration we call it. So whenever this type of refunds are there or duty drawback is there, that will be deposited to that account, that bank account which we are registered with the customs. Okay. So in case of export of goods, the amount, the IGST refund will be automatically deposited into account after the shipping bill is filed and exports are being made. Then that conditions also I'll tell you what are the further conditions, I'll tell you next, right? For example, in case of services or in case of SEZ units, of course separate registration, separate application has to be filed for getting the refund. Okay.
ఈజీ ఇచ్చే బాబు ఈజీ ఇచ్చేసి ఈజీ కూర్చొని మాట్లాడతాం దాని గురించి ముందే క్లియర్ చేసి.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Yes, you are talking something. Hello. Okay, in chat box somebody, sir, that means Hyderabad to Vijayawada also less than 20 lakhs GST is needed. Only when you are making export, then GST registration mandatory. That is what I told you. Even though it is less than 20 lakhs, GST registration is required. Then somebody is asked what is the EOU. EOU means export oriented unit. Okay. There is a separate provision is there under chapter 6 of the this foreign trade policy. That is the EOU unit, means export oriented unit. Okay, somebody is talking about what is that. Okay, let us take an example. Suppose the export value is say 1 lakh and GST applicability rate of GST is say 18%, because in export it is treated as zero rated supply. Therefore, you are allowed to take the ITC. ITC is taken, and suppose ITC is available is 13,000 for example, and this is the breakup of the ITC. Means for inputs you have taken 6,000, for input services 4,000, and capital goods also allowed to take the ITC, input tax credit. So you have taken 3,000. Now we are opting, this is the data available in your books of accounts for example, right? And first option for example you want to take it in the first option without payment of GST under LUT, right? Therefore no IGST is applicable, and only you can utilize the refund, means you get the refund of the unutilized ITC. What is the remain unutilized, that you can get the ITC. Here in this case, because ITC this breakup is given, here inputs towards inputs for example 6,000 what you have taken ITC plus input services 4,000, these two are allowed to take refund. Okay, means 10,000 rupees you can get the refund. Okay, but in case the second option you are taking, in such case you are making the payment of IGST. IGST of applicable rate is 18%. The value we discussed is export value is 1 lakh. So on 1 lakh 18% is comes to 18,000. So 18,000 IGST you have to pay. And while you are making the 18,000 IGST, ITC of this you can utilize. You can ITC inputs, input services, also capital goods input also you can utilize towards the payment of the ITC. Means 13,000 you can make, means offset towards the payment of 18,000. 18,000 output supply, this you supposed to make the payment, out of which you can offset this 13,000 which is ITC available with you, including the ITC and the capital goods. Very important to understand, and the capital goods also you are allowed to take the offset here. So 13,000 is adjusted out of the 18,000 liability. So net payment you have to make. Okay, net means that 5,000 rupees you have to make payment further. That is on value added supply. That is what we are talking about now. So on the value addition, that 5,000 rupees you have to pay this. Now refund of course you can get for 18,000. 18,000 refund you can get it in the second option. In supply means in essence which is essentially good, whether the first option or second option. In case you are making the export of goods, and in such case the second option tells that you need not file any separate application. Directly after the export your payment will be means deposited into bank account. There is no need for separate application in case of second option. So second option is better, but of course you have to make a commercial judgment. Some of the aspects I will tell you later. So some commercial judgment you have to make properly. Then you can take the option, either first option or second option, as you like. Okay. And suppose you are making export of rice, for example. In case of export of rice, whether the rice is an exempted commodity, for example, right? Export rice in bulk, for example, unbranded, then it is an exempted item. Okay. When it is an exempted item, you are in exporting the rice, then ITC is available to you or not. ITC means input tax credit on getting certain material. For example, for a rice exports, you may require rice, and also you require some packing materials like HDPE or PP bags you require, or some services also for loading, unloading, transportation, etc. You are making certain payment of the GST. So all the GST, whatever you have made payment on your inputs, whether that tax can be taken as a credit or not, means inputs tax whatever made paid, whether is eligible to take the credit or not. So tell me, sir, here also let us interact, then only it will be interesting. Otherwise it is like a unilaterally I am talking like. Let us interact. Yes or no? Yes? Nobody responding? No idea. Okay, no idea is good, because these are the something you can easily can understand, because most of the time some exempted products also you may be exporting. Whenever you are making export, it is treated as zero rated supply. Whenever it is a zero rated supply, you are entitled to take the ITC, input tax credit, even though the outward supply is exempted goods. As per section 16.2 of the IGST Act, you are allowed to take the means input tax credit. Okay, even though outward supply exported goods are exempted goods. Okay. Then the refund calculation for in case of ITC refund, means ITC means input tax credit refund. If you want to claim, there is a formula is given. This is the formula. Based in this formula, you have to claim the input tax credit. That is the refund of it. Okay. In the first option. Then in the second case, second option, in case of the goods I am talking about, suppose you are making the supply export of goods, and on payment of IGST, then whatever the IGST you have paid, as I told you, that will be get refunded. Okay. And for that you need not make a separate application. As per the rule, there is no need for making a separate application. And of course, after the export only you will be entitled, means you have to file the GSTR 1, that is outward supply return. As per the GST provisions, you have to make the return submits must be submitted, and GSTR 3B must be submitted, where the payment is there, that payment must be made, so that payment is there. Then this third one is this EGM, means Export General Manifesto, means that is a proof that goods are going outside India. The shipping lines generally files the EGM with the customs. So these three conditions has to be fulfilled. One, you must have filed GSTR 1, and you must have filed GSTR 3B, and EGM must have filed by the shipping line. That indicating that you are made exports outside India, the goods are gone outside of India. In such case, you will get the refund of the IGST, whatever you have made payment, that will be credited to your account automatically. There is no requirement of a separate application in case of goods I am talking about. Okay. Then recently in the budget 2021 presented on the 1st of February this month, the Nirmala Sitharaman has provided in the two sections there are certain modifications they made. One is this is now there is a restriction on availing of the zero rated supply with payment of tax. Means second option when you are making, then government is going to put certain criterias. Of course, they are not announced, but they will announce, which are there in the rules and other provisions they already announced. But those things they want to put into the through a proper notification, so that it will be in the act itself. So they made in act itself that there is certain conditions applicable if you are making supply of export without with payment of tax. Okay. In such case, one of the condition is if you are making the export under the advance authorization or EOU you are making, or you are making you got the supplies under merchant export or deemed export. In such cases, the second option is not available to you. Second option is limited to certain class of exporters only, not to all. Okay. And another one also they made about the zero rated supply. The sales proceeds if you are not received within the prescribed limit. The prescribed limit means 9 months as per the RBI regulation at present. If you are not received the export realization within that framework, then you have to make the payment of the this IGST, because the funds are not available to you. The refund whatever you have taken already, that has to be returned to the government, along with of course interest and other penal provisions. So that is what they made these provisions clear now in the act itself. Okay. Suppose you have made in a supplies are made, they have claimed the deemed export, for example. Deemed export benefit. What is the deemed exports? I will tell you later. Deemed export means supplies to, for example, EOU unit or supplies to under advance authorization holder and EPCG license holder, for example. These must have heard already. You must have learned in the first or second lessons when somebody must have called discussed about the foreign trade policy. So if you are supplying to advance authorization holder or the EPCG license holder or to EOU unit, these are treated as deemed exports. Whenever such deemed exports are there, and deemed exporters are also entitled for the deemed export benefit, that refund is allowed, and in such case the supplier is taken the deemed export benefit, then the output, this exporter, his refund of ITC is restricted to only other inputs where he has not taken any inputs under any of the exemption or any of the provisions under this deemed export provisions. Okay. So this is a very important clause, because even though this allowed, the ITC is allowed, but subject to restriction. The restriction is in case you have taken already some deemed export benefit and you got the supplies under this, then to that extent is not allowed. Only other than those inputs, then refund is allowed. ITC refund is allowed. Okay, that is what this. And what is the deemed export? Of course, you must have learned in some other lesson. Deemed export as per the GST I am talking, I am not as per the foreign trade policy, because the two different definitions are there. As per the GST, deemed exports means suppose you are making a supplies to an advance authorization holder, or you are making supplies to EPCG license holder or authorization holder, or you are making supplies to EOU means export oriented unit, or EHTP means electronic hardware trade park, and STP software trading park, or BPT biotechnology park. In such cases, if you make supplies, then these are treated as deemed exports. Okay. And deemed exports, first you have to make the payment of GST, then claim the refund. That is the provision is given, because this is also, you should not export the taxes should not be exported. Therefore, here also the same concept is applicable. Whenever you are making the deemed supplies to these of the categories, then these are treated as a deemed export. And in such case, first you have to make the payment of GST, and get the refund of the GST, right? And the GST refund either the supplier can get, or the units which are been these categories units also can get the refund. Either of them, not both, but either of them can get on disclosure disclaimer by the other. Suppose the supplier is claiming, he has to get the disclaimer from these units, then the supplier can get the refund. If the supplier don't want to get the refund of the taxes, whatever this payment of tax whatever made, then these units also can get the refund on the disclaimer from the supplier. Okay. And of course, here also for getting the deemed export refund, you have to make the application on RFT 01. That is on the GST portal. Online application you have to make. And as already discussed, in say, let us understand this. Suppose you are getting any of the input supplies, you are an exporter, input supplies you are getting under any of these provisions, means as a deemed export provisions you got because you are advance authorization holder or EPCG license holder, or you are a UOU unit, or you are a merchant exporter where you are getting the inputs on concessional rate, then the first option only the available. The second option is not available to you. Means in such cases you have to export without payment of tax under LUT only and get the ITC refund on other inputs which are not covered under this. Those inputs you can get the refund of ITC. The second option, without payment with payment of ITC GST and sorry, here this A, just I'll make some change here. Just a minute. With payment of IGST, the second option which is there, that is not available under this condition. Okay. Okay. As a summary, I am talking because we are discussing which option is better one. The second option is the better, subject to again conditions. The second option means on payment of, means you have to make the payment first IGST, then get the refund of entire IGST what you have made payment. Here for the goods there is no need for the separate application. For that is why it is very simple, very easy. Immediately you get the refund. Whereas in the first case you have to make the first application, then you will get the refund. That takes a little bit of time. So second option is better, of course subject to many conditions as I told you. The second condition is not applicable in certain conditions, certain stages like I already explained to you. So those things are not applicable in case of second option. Okay. Now refund related. How you know the refund, whether your refund is accepted or any objections are there or any difficulties are there, you can go to the status, you can find the refund status in the IceGate. This is the portal, I already provided you this portal. You can go to this portal and understand your status of the payment, that refund. And also you can go to GST refund status. Here also you can go and you can find the what is the status. The details you can understand from the procedure related. I have mentioned this one. Okay. And if you go to the portal, if the code indicates that SB000, that indicates your application is successfully validated. Therefore, in due course, you can get your refund. Suppose that code indicates SB001, that indicates that invalid shipping bill details. Means your whatever you have made means this GST return GSTR 1, on that the invoice details you have mentioned, and that is not matching with the shipping bill, then mismatch happens. That mismatch, if any mismatch is there, because these are all online applications, online submission, online procedures, there is no manual interference. So any mismatch is there, with your invoice and shipping bill, then that indicates this SB001, invalid shipping bill. Okay. Then suppose EGM is not filed, then it shows SB002, means Export General Manifesto is not filed by the shipping line. That indicates that your goods are not going outside India. That is an indication this is a mismatch. Then also your refund process will not be executed. Then any GST number mismatch also, because whenever you're making shipping bill and that GST number what you have filed the GST returns, both the numbers are not matching, then also this indication it gives SP003 it indicates. Then SP004 means records already received and validated. Of course, in a due course you can get the clearance. Already received, that what the documents are received, like it talks about. Then SP005 means invalid invoice number. That invoice number what you have mentioned in the GSTR 1 returns filing under GST and shipping bill, both are not matching. Yes, sir.
Sir, what did you say is EGM, sir?
EGM means Export General Manifesto. That is given by the shipping line. When they're taking the goods outside India, then they has to file a document. That document is EGM with the customs that they're taking these goods outside India. That is a proof. Okay, that proof has to be mentioned that goods are gone outside India. Then only it is treated as an export. If it is not there, then you will not getting any of the refunds. Because if your goods are not going outside India, means you are not exported, how you will get the refund? That is what the mismatch will happen. The refunds will be stopped. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
And similarly, like SB006 also, gateway EGM not available. In such case also you will not get any year. Okay, this is just a brief about again talking about the refunds. When you had to claim the refund application, means refunds claiming, a general indication is it is 2 years from the date of the relevant date. What is the relevant date for the different types of mode of shipments? There are different relevant dates are there. Subsequently, I show in this chart. Next chart slide I will show you. So you have to claim the refund within 2 years from the relevant date, means from the export, for example, right? And no ITC refund if the goods are subject to any export duty is there. For example, on this iron ore, for example, there an export duty is there. Sometime back, there in onion also there is export duty was imposed. In such cases, you will not get any ITC refund. Okay. And ITC refund and duty drawback both can be claimed simultaneously because there are mutually exclusive provisions now. So both you can claim. There is no, some doubts are there. Many people have the doubt when you are making the refund application, that duty drawback provisions also you have to supposed to mention. But now they made very clear, both ITC refund you can claim and also duty drawback also you can claim. Simultaneously both can be claimed. There is no issue at all. In case your refunds are being delayed for more than say 90 days, in such case you will get the interest also at the rate of 6%. Okay. If it is the refund is delayed by the government, that payment is not released in time, then 6% interest also you will get along with your refund. Okay, these are the relevant dates. Different types of mode of transport, different relevant dates are being mentioned. Means this is the date of export, like you can treat it. In case of sea or air, for example, then the date on which the ship or aircraft in which such goods are loaded or leaves India is taken as a relevant date. Like that, other dates also there. This is how the relevant date is treated. And of course, this is related to GST filing. For the refund returns, you can make the multiple tax periods also can be filed in these 2 different financial year also can be filed one application or not. And it's told yes, you can make one application even though the refunds are related to 2 different financial years, that can be made. And also, can I file the refund application for 2 different financial? Yes, in one refund application you can make it. Okay. And even though refund of ITC refund, certain times what happen, you have made the compensation cess is taken as an ITC in case of export, for example. For example, you are getting some coal. On the coal, there is a cess is applicable. Or in auto components, for example, there is cess, compensation cess is applicable as per GST provisions. Whether this compensation cess also can be got refunded or not, that was a question. So that is also can be refunded. You can get even the refund of the this compensation cess also, because that is also a part of ITC. Even though your output supply export is not subjected to compensation cess, but you have taken ITC, that compensation cess, that compensation cess also can be got refunded. Okay. Then we'll discuss very important aspect, because most of you may be going to be starting the business as an merchant exporter. What is the merchant exporter? Who is a manufacturer exporter? Also defined in the Act and foreign trade policy. And in the foreign trade policy, manufacturer means, who is manufacturer means the person who export the goods manufactured by him. He has own his manufacturing facility, he can manufacture it. Then merchant exporter also mentioned in the definition para 9.33 of foreign trade policy. Merchant exporter means who is not having the manufacturing facilities, but he is getting the goods from outside the his premises, means outside the year, and he can export the same goods to exporter, then it's treated as a merchant export. Okay. He procure the finished goods from a manufacturer or other traders and export in his own name. So he is called as a merchant exporter. Okay. And in this case of merchant export, some salient features I'll tell you. If you want to avail the benefit under the merchant export, because certain concessional rate of tax is provided for the merchant exporters, that I will tell you in the subsequent slides. So in this notification, these are the notifications for the merchant export. And the merchant exporter must be registered under the GST. That is one mandatory condition. The second mandatory condition is the merchant exporter also must have registered under the any of the EPC. EPC means Export Promotion Councils. Suppose you are exporting pharmaceutical goods, you must have be registered with Pharmaceutical Export Promotion Council. If you are exporting any of the engineering items, you must have registered with Engineering Export Promotion Council. Suppose agricultural products, then EPIDA is concerned EPC, means Export Promotion Council, a commodity board, you must have registered with them. So that is the condition. The two conditions: first, the merchant exporter must be registered with GST. The second condition, he must have RCMC, means that Export Promotion Council, after the registration, they will give the RCMC, means registration cum membership certificate. So he must have registered with that. Okay. And the merchant export should place an order with the manufacturer. A copy of the order also must be given to the concerned jurisdictional tax official of the manufacturer, the merchant exporter. Okay. And the register, and in such case, if these two conditions are been fulfilled, then he can get the supplies. Merchant exporter can source from the domestic market at a 0.1% of the tax. If it is interstate transaction, then it's 0.1% of the IGST. Or if it is within the state, means intrastate transaction, then 0.05 CGST and 0.05 of SGST can be paid. Okay. So even though your product is 18%, but you can source at 0.1% only. So that is an advantage under the merchant export.
Sir, I have a small doubt here.
Yes, sir.
Saying a merchant exporter should place an order to the manufacturer. What about the traders, sir? The merchant
You are
export...
a trader, no? Merchant export is a trader.
No, I am a trader. I want to buy from another
trader. Okay, that is also true. Even manufacturer or trader also you can get it, no issue.
Okay.
And the supplier again, he must be registered.
Okay.
The supplier also must be registered, and merchant exporter also registered. Additionally, merchant exporter must have RCMC, means Export Promotion Council, he must have registered.
Okay.
And in such case, he can get the goods sourced from the domestic industry at 0.1% of the IGST or 0.5%, 0.05% CGST plus 0.05% SGST. With this, he can get it. Okay.
Sir, this
Sir,
for the Export Promotion Council for engineering, what is the apex thing, sir? Body?
That Engineering Export Promotion Council is there. Engineering Export Promotion Council, EEPC. EEPC.
EC. Sure.
Similarly, there are total 28 export promotion councils are there, including FIVO. FIVO is an apex body. FIVO means Federation of Indian Export Organization. And there are 7 commodity boards are there, like tea board, coffee board, then for agriculture like EPIDA, like that 7 commodity boards are there. You have to get the membership first, means you have to register with them, right?
Sir, for any previously if done in within 2 months, if we register now, can we avail the benefit, sir?
Means I couldn't understand.
Sir, I have done this one export during the month of December, but
No,
I am not.
already you are done, no? You are
Yes, sir.
already done. Already you are procured. Then where is the concession now? Already you are done, no? If they are already done, there is nothing like. And future, for example, if you want to do it, this is an option. This is an option available to you.
Sir.
You can get the. You are a merchant exporter. You are, and you must register with.
Yeah, GST is registered. And,
Hello.
yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
No, you are okay. Somebody is back
Somebody,
talking
somebody,
about.
some disturbance are
Yeah,
there.
some disturbance.
Sir, I request everybody to mute only when you want to discuss. That option is given to you, but otherwise everybody been disturbed. Okay, that option is there. Only when you want to discuss, you can unmute and discuss with me. Otherwise, keep in mute. Okay.
Sir, I have one doubt, sir. Can I
Yes.
ask?
Yes, sir.
So when the merchant export is been like export promotion council when is registered in his merchant export certificate, will there be any scope of good that will be mentioned, sir? That this is only the scope of good that he can do as a merchant exporter.
Yeah. Actually, when you are registered with any of the export promotion councils, these councils except FIVO, all others are product specific or item specific. Suppose engineering goods, there is Engineering Export Promotion Council. Agriculture goods, there is EPIDA. Chemicals, there is Chemical Export Promotion Council. Leather Export Promotion Council. Plastic Export Promotion Council. Like that, different commodities, different councils are there. Export Promotion Councils. Accordingly, you have to register. Suppose you are making the leather exports and you want to register with the EPIDA, that doesn't mean no.
Right.
So accordingly,
So if
according to your product only, you have to register with such Export Promotion Council. Okay.
So, sir, if I'm a manufacturer and I supply to one of my merchant exporter, and my goods is an analytical instruments, and his work of scope, like in the merchant export certificate, his scope is something different. He's eligible to do that, sir. He is eligible to buy my product at 0.1% and export it.
I'm telling you, I'm not completed with merchant export. Everything I will explain to you. Then automatically this will be clear.
Sure, sir.
So just some conditions I'm talking just now. So I will explain you details, all these things. Okay.
Right, sir.
Okay. Now the merchant exporter must be registered with GST, and also he must have registered with any of the Export Promotion Council as per his Export Promotion Councils. I told you these are the product specific. Only FIVO means Federation of Indian Export Organization. That is for any type of product, multi products. You can do it. Only that is if registered, any type of products you can export, either leather or agriculture or engineering or chemical, plastic, whatever you want, electronics, you can export it. But all other export promotion councils are product specific. Okay. Now, the supplier of this to the merchant exporter must be also registered supplier. Then the procedure I am talking about, first one, this merchant exporter has to place an order with the registered supplier. He is a domestic supplier, right? And also one copy has to be given to the jurisdiction officer of the this merchant exporter. Then the second one, then third, the supplier will now make the supplies on GST payment of 0.1%. On 0.1% only GST, he will make the supplies, okay, to the merchant exporter. And the fourth condition is the merchant exporter has to export after getting the material within this 90 days. 90 days time is given. Within 90 days, he has to export. Okay, sir. After the export, he has to make the copy of the shipping bill and bill of export. He has to give a copies to registered supplier along with, of course, EGM. These are proof of export. Copy of shipping bill means you have made a shipping bill and there the supplier's name also been mentioned. That you have to understand. Whenever you are making the shipping bill, the supplier's name also must be there as a supporting. Okay, and it is been mentioned. And these copies, EGM also means Export General Manifesto. These copies must be given to the supplier, right? And also such copies has to be given to jurisdictional tax officer. And the supplier shall not be eligible for the tax. This benefit of supplying at 1.1% is not eligible if it is not made export within 90 days. When suppose the merchant exporter is not made exports within 90 days after he procuring at this rate, if he not exported, then this facility of concession will be withdrawn. Then the supplier who has made that 0.1% that interest that with the rate of GST with 0.1%, now it is not available because it is not exported within 90 days. The supplier has to make the differential rate of this tax that has to be paid along with interest. Along with interest has to make the payment. So this is the condition. Clear now? Means whenever this merchant export provisions, you are getting the supplies with 0.1%, the merchant exporter must export within 90 days. If it is not made within 90 days, this concessional rate is not applicable. Then the original supplier, this is the supplier, he has to make the differential rate, has to make the payment, and also he has to make the interest on that. Clear? Yes, sir. Now you can discuss. It is clear now, or you can discuss. Yes.
Yes, sir.
It is now clear.
Yeah, the whole process is clear, sir. The only question was mine was regarding the scope. When any merchant exporter is being defined with certain scope, and if I supply him,
that is I already told now, sir. The merchant exporter, that scope means you're talking about what type of items or commodities. As I told you, the RCMC is commodity specific except FIVO. Okay. So accordingly, he has to register. Suppose it's engineering items, in your case you're talking, you have to register with Engineering Export Promotion Council as a merchant exporter. Okay.
Right, sir.
And if you want to make multiple products, sometimes leather exports, sometimes agricultural commodities, or sometimes engineering items, like different items you want to export, in such case you can take the FIVO registration. FIVO yields for all type of commodities or items. Okay, including services also. If you do, you can go through FIVO. Okay. Of course, there are two different scenarios. I don't want to talk further here because already we have discussed the first case. The merchant exporter on the goods, he makes the payment on 0.1% of the IGST, and he must export. The merchant exporter must export without payment of tax only. The second option is not available in such case. Already I have discussed this one. Only has to export the merchant exporter. In such case, when you are getting the input goods at 0.1% concessional rate of GST, then only one option is there for export, that is without payment of tax under LUT. Okay, and the second option is not available to him. And this other question arises, the supplier side. Suppose the supplier is made at 0.1% GST and he has made without payment of this means a merchant exporter is made. The supplier in such case, because he is made at 0.1%, but his input may be at 18% or 12% or 5% but higher than the output tax rate, so that accumulated ITC can arise. In such case, the supplier, he can claim the ITC accumulated as inverted tax refund. Inverted tax refund also you can claim the refunds. Okay, so this is how this scenario. Then I'm briefly talks, because next few minutes are there, I want to briefly talks about the duty drawback. For that I will tell you what are the different export promotion councils are there, schemes are there. As already we have discussed, there are of course you must have knowing earlier somebody must have covered from the DGFT or some other officials, and you know there are different export promotion schemes are there. One is under the chapter 3 of the foreign trade policy, that is called MEIS scheme, that is merchandise export from India scheme. This is to because of the we have the infrastructure related, logistic related disadvantages there. To come across the disadvantage, some type of incentive is given by the government for export of products, goods, MEIS.
There was a sir, on the various schemes, there was a presentation from Srinath. Last week only he spoke on the various export.
Okay, I'm not covering, but why I'm the doc just to make this one is some of the GST provisions I want to explain. That is what.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So MEIS scheme, of course, this MEIS scheme for the goods, similar like SCI scheme for services. But unfortunately, this MEIS scheme is not available now. Effective from it is up to 31st December 2020. This scheme is there. Then after this has been withdrawn because we have certain WTO obligation, and MEIS scheme is not WTO compatible. Therefore, it has been withdrawn effective from the 31st December 2020. In this place, another scheme is introduced. Of course, Mr. Srinath covered or not, I don't know. That is RODTAP. RODTAP is applicable from the 1st January 2020-21. But the rates are not announced as yet. But he has to make the mention of your intention to get the this benefit in the shipping bill. You must mention. If you not mention that intention of your getting the benefit under the RODTAP, you will not be eligible for it. Okay. So that is the RODTAP scheme. Then advance authorization, as you must have knowing, this is the advance authorization in the raw materials inputs, means inputs like raw material, packing material, consumables, and other inputs can be getting. You can import duty free. Here the IGST means whenever you are making the import, IGST is applicable along with this basic custom duty and then social welfare surcharge. Along with this, IGST also applicable. But when you are importing any of the items under the advance authorization, that IGST is also exempted. That IGST also exempted. But this exemption is available only up to 31st March 2020-21. Then after, new policy is expected anytime in between. Maybe next month they are going to announce it. So according to next year that they will decide. But this exemption at present for the IGST is up to 31st March 2020-21. That is under this chapter 4. Similarly, when you are talking about the chapter 5 EPCG scheme, under the EPCG scheme, you can import the required capital goods for manufacture of the export products. You can import duty free, again it is zero rated, means zero customs duty, zero customs duty you can import. Here also IGST has been exempted, and this exemption again up to 31st March 2020-21. Clear, sir? I am talking these things only from the GST point of view. Whenever you are importing advance authorization, any of the items you are importing under advance authorization or under the EPCG scheme, IGST has been exempted, and this exemption is available only up to 31st March 2020-21. Okay. Then another scheme, because Kulkarni ji has asked me to cover the duty drawback, that is also briefly I talked to you. Next I will discuss about, because this is one of the alternative to advance authorization. Because again, what are the inputs you have suffered on payment of duty or taxes, those things will be getting refunded. Okay, that is under the duty drawback. I will cover subsequently furthermore. And in some other schemes also there, like EOU scheme. EOU scheme is under the chapter 6, means export oriented units. Under these other schemes also like STP, EHTP and BTP, all are same, like one in the same chapter, same similar like provisions. And under this you can import means raw materials or capital goods under EOU scheme. Here also whenever you are importing, that IGST what is applicable, that is also been exempted. This IGST on import is been exempted when you are importing under EOU scheme, both for inputs as well for the capital goods. Okay. Similar like SEZ unit, when you are talking about, this is separate act, in fact not under the foreign trade policy. Earlier it was the part of the foreign trade policy, but they separated it, and it is under the SEZ Act 2005. Under this also the means SEZ units can import without payment of the IGST, means IGST is exempted for SEZ units also, apart from the basic custom duty. Okay. Similarly, FTWZ, foreign trade warehousing zone. This is for trading actually, basically for trading, and is very similar to SEZ. SEZ is manufacturing, but for trading also allowed under the same act, SEZ Act only. Here also they can import the goods and then further export or supply in the domestic market on payment of the tax duties. Here when they import under the FTWZ, then also as per the SEZ Act and foreign trade means provisions and customs provisions, they can import the goods without payment of tax and duties. And means basic custom duty, along with it IGST also been exempted. Okay. Then of course another provision they made in the last year only, 2020, bonded manufacturing facility, means in the customs bonded you can make the manufacturing as well as trading facility. Under this also whenever you are importing, IGST is been deferred, there is a deferment is there. If it has been exported again, then it is exempted. If you are sending to the domestic, then it is applicable, the taxes has to be paid. So this is about the brief about the IGST provision, means GST provisions applicable to some of the export promotion schemes. Then as I already told to you, that MEI scheme is replaced with the RODTEP. RODTEP is now they made WTO compatible, compliant, and what are the taxes and duties or any of the levies which are not being allowed any refund or rebate is not presently available. For that, the unrefunded taxes, duties, levies which are not been present is been exempted or rebated, further this scheme is introduced. The rates, of course, it is not been announced, but the condition is that from the effective from the 1st of January, whatever shipments you are made, in the shipping bill, you mandatorily has to mention about your intention to avail this means benefit. Otherwise, it will not be available to you. Okay. So now I am covering the duty drawback. And duty drawback, of course, there are 3 sections are there under the Customs Act 1962. First is section 74, under which it is for the re-export of the imported goods. Then the section 75 for the export of manufactured goods, means within India you have manufactured and suffered some of the taxes, duties, etc., and then you are exporting. Then what are the duties you have suffered, those duties will be refunded to you. So that is the section 75. And 76 for provision of the duty drawback. And we are concentrating only on the section 75. Others we are not talking, because that is again another subject like. So we are discussing only 75, section 75. Under the section 75, you are being allowed to get the refund or rebate of the duties on which the duties which you are suffered on the goods manufactured within India, and then you are exported. Further, this duty drawback is available. And this duty drawback is not available for the IGST, whatever you've been suffered, or the compensations what you have suffered. For that, it will not be allowed. Only for the customs duty, the refund is been allowed under the duty drawback under the section 75 of the foreign trade policy. Under this, there is a one A is there, we call is all industry rate, AIR. When you are making export, you have to opt that option that you are going to get the duty drawback on that particular product which you are been exporting. Okay. There are some rates are there already been announced. That this is the link I have shared to you. I will show that what is that link also. Through this link, they announced various rates for the commodities. Based on that, you can get the all industry rate, that is called AIR rate. Based on that, you can get the some percent of the FOB value. This is the duty drawback. Okay, suppose some items are there 2%, some items are there 3% or 5%, like that, of the FOB value. Remember, it is always calculated as a percentage of the FOB value. In certain cases, also they mention as a specific value per piece or per ton, like that also they mention. Specific rate also there, and percentage wise also there. Okay, but maximum cases you will get as a percentage of FOB value. Okay. So you can get, whenever you are exporting, you have to make the application in the shipping bill. Means in the shipping bill you have to declare it, your intention to get the drawback. That specific serial number also you have to mention in the shipping bill. So accordingly you will get the drawback. This drawback will be automatically deposited in your account, which that is what AD registration is required with the customs. Whichever the account you have mentioned with the customs, which will be deposited into that account. Okay. So I will show you these rates once, just a minute. Just a minute, I will open it. Yeah, this circular is visible to you. Now the circular is visible to you. Yes or no?
Which circular, sir?
No.
The circular is not visible to you. Okay. Okay. I'll make just a minute. Now the circular is visible.
Yes.
Now it is
Yes,
visible.
sir.
So this circular is given on 28th January 2020 and effective from the 4th of February 2020. Under the circular, various items are mentioned like this. For example, there are different items are there, and for each of the item, what are the description of the item, and also they are given the duty drawback. This is, you see, as a percentage of the FOB value. These are duty drawback rate is mentioned in this column. On the fourth column, you see, these are the percentage of the FOB value, and these are the items. If you are exporting, then this much of the duty drawback you will get. And for each of the item, there is a tariff item. There is a code is there. This is the item code for the duty drawback, and this item code you have to mention. For example, this is the description, and this is the unit, and this is the percentage of FOB value. And there is also, there's a cap is there, means maximum you can get this much only, mean 24.2 rupees per kg you will get for this item, for example, maximum. Otherwise it is as a percentage, but maximum cap also been mentioned, because some people are declaring a very high value, get the more drawback. So therefore government has made certain restriction of the highest rate, that is the maximum cap. Okay. So like this, all the items you can see, accordingly you can get the duty drawback. You have to claim in the shipping bill, and as a percentage of your FOB value in general, you will get the refund. And it is automatic process. There is no need for separate application. The shipping bill itself will be treated as an application for the duty drawback, and you will get generally within 3 months you get the duty drawback. If it is not been released within 3 months, then government, of course, they will make the interest payment also. Clear? Any doubt on this? Yes, sir. So everybody is okay with this?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
For electrical, what is the present duty drawback, sir?
So
Electrical product.
So electrical also there are n number of items are there, sir.
Transformer, mainly electrical transformer.
Those things you can see from the notification, because there is a various transformer capacities are otherwise also there. Different types of transformers also there, not one type of electrical transformer only. In electrical transformer also CT, PT and many things are there if you are going in details. So accordingly that rates are applicable. So you can go through this notification, then accordingly you can come across.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. And now I am open for the discussions, because the session briefly I covered all the things. Now I am available for the discussions. We can discuss. And of course, anytime if you want, of course, through Kulkarni ji you can approach me, or this is my contact details, you can approach me. And also you can go through some of my YouTube or other presentations. More than 100 presentations are there in YouTube, and similar like in SlideShare. If you want, you can go through also. Some of them, of course, I will show you what are those are there available. For example, this is my YouTube. If you write in the Google search also SN Panigrahi YouTube, then it will comes. Around say 100 plus YouTube presentations are there like this on various factors. Suppose the export finance and other thing, risk also there, this one. FIVO we have presented on the Turant customs related faceless assessment, that we have made presentation. Then import substitution also through FIVO we made, and many other presentations I have made. So these YouTube also available to you for various items. Of course, import and export, GST, then project management, Lean Six Sigma, like many items I have covered. So you can go through whatever you wanted, right? And also you can similarly can search in the Google search that SN Panigrahi SlideShare. There also you will get n number of my presentations. Okay, so these are all about the GST, import and export, payment methods, for example, internet state risk, or the Incoterms like 2020. All those things are available. You can go through it. So with this, my presentation is complete. Now I am open for discussions. Yes, sir.
Any questions from the participants or clarifications they need on the GST? Admit, sir. They can mute themselves.
Any doubt or any you want to discuss with me? So I'm available, because as per the time I had to close by 12. So that is why accordingly I have prepared and presented. And next 5 minutes are there, we can discuss.
Sir, anything to do with e-way bills, sir?
Okay.
For it.
Okay, when you are making supplies which are more than 50,000, e-way bill is mandatory. So when you suppose you are making export from your factory to, for example, it has to move to the port, that value of your goods is more than 50,000, then of course this e-way bill is mandatory requirement. Okay, sir. Okay, any other things you want to discuss? Okay.
In chat box there are maybe just
No, chat box also I'm seeing no questions are there, no?
okay.
Chat box also I'm seeing no questions are there. Okay, all the best for your endeavor for the entering into import and export field. So thanks to FEDSI and thanks to all the delegates for the participation. And if you want, we can take finally a photo click. So can you take, sir?
Yeah, we have taken, sir. We'll share with you some of the snaps also.
Okay. Otherwise, lastly, we can take here one. If everybody makes this start video at the bottom of the left hand side bottom, you can take fast. So let us come. So let us have it together that opportunity to share. Yes, I am also available now.
Yeah.
Yes, others, those who want, please join.
Physically, anyhow, we are not able to see everybody. At least virtually, we can see.
Yeah, that is the advantage of the corona. Physical, there is no contacts and no move, I mean, seeing face to face. But
Yeah.
of course, virtually we can connect anytime, like.
Yeah.
Okay, others, anybody wants join, let them join. Otherwise, we'll taking a short and closing.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Panigrahi Garu, for
Thank you.
sparing your valuable time and
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll break for a half an hour. We have our next session at 12:30. I request all of you to kindly join by 12:25. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.